We have another speaker coming up on stage, and he's going to talk to you about disrupting HR, human capital and blockchain implementations. And his name is Sergei Sergienko. He's the co-founder of Edway Group, which is an innovative HR solutions company. And he's also the CEO and co-founder of ChronoBank. And he's won multiple awards, including Hot 30 Under 30, pretty cool title, and Young Gun in Business. He is an expert at connecting real and digital world economies, and he's also served and represented Australia on G20 summits, where he was leading the national expansion and strategic planning for over 10 years. So, welcome, Sergei.
Hi guys. I love the picture. Oh, they already took it down. Good to see everyone here. And I'd like to thank the organizers. I'd like to thank Cointelegraph, BlockShow, everyone for allowing me to be here and talk to you about human capital and where it's going, in our opinion. So, as the lady in front of me said, my name is Sergei Sergienko. I'm a founder of a startup called ChronoBank. We've done an ICO a few years back, and now we're busy developing the product, and we just launched one. So I urge you to take a look at it. Now, I'm here to talk to you about what we think is possible with the labor and with the way that people get paid and remunerated. Right. There's no secret that technology is changing everything very fast, right? And like Konstantin before me said, that 3 years in crypto means something like 10 in traditional finance and traditional business. So I do agree with him. Now, for most of people's history, or human history, people have always spent their time gathering resources and trying to survive by finding food and working, and then spending the resources as they earned, right? Now, the resources were always controlled by a few, by a select few. At this stage, I should probably pause and say, I'm thinking of you, Mr. Putin. As a joke, right? Okay, so those few have always have always benefited more than an average worker or an average person. Now, the way that the current system works, right? It works essentially where you go to work, you sell your time, and you get remunerated for it, right? So usually in the form of dollars or any other fiat equivalent, right? What we're trying, like most recently, we've seen blockchain getting, like people starting getting paid in crypto and tokens. Now, since then, nothing like that method was developed, in fact, in the Industrial Revolution, right? Where you went and you made, I don't know, a rail for the railroad or something, right? And for that you got paid, right? Nice and simple, well, that's pretty much how it is now, right? So now, in most first world countries, people go to work, they get paid, then they spend the money, right? Now, what we're trying to look at is we realize at ChronoBank that the way that people have been doing it and sell their resource time is due for an overhaul, right? However, we do realize that it's very, very difficult to execute and do in the current climate, right? As most of the modern taxation in developed countries are based on income tax, right? So, like apart from a very few countries that don't charge it, right? A lot of the money flows, and like income is a thing that government can really control. I mean, income from wages is a thing that government can really control, and hence it's based on that, right? So we are trying to change the way that people get paid, and let's not beat around the bush. It is big, right? I'll repeat that. It is fucking big. Right. Now, people are currently price takers and are not price makers, right? So what I mean by this, every time you try to go and get a job, You go to to an interview or something, and you offer the price, right? So you either agree with it or you don't. We're not talking about high-level executives here or very specified, very specific jobs. Now, and the thing is, in my opinion, it's a little bit absurd, right? After you get the job, you literally, if we're talking about salary, you literally have maybe 35 to 40 times opportunity to negotiate your wage from what you were given. So what I mean by that, salary is quoted yearly, and you like every year you can ask your boss to increase it, right? And that's literally 40 times in your lifetime, right? If you start work at say 24 after uni or something and finish at 65. Now that is absurd in my opinion, and that's what we're trying to change. Now, if there is one thing that blockchain offers, apart from like all the hype around it and everything, right? What it does, it offers a cheap and inexpensive value transfer. In this case, we're talking about people's wages and people's, well, essentially time. And what we can do, and this is unique, right? What we've been trialing for a bit is something called continuous wages. Imagine that if you work, right? If you work somewhere in a factory or something, right? And you look at your device and you see as you do something, the money in your bank account, well, the money in the account and the money in your crypto wallet increases as you do it, right? You should probably not operate heavy machinery as you do it, though. But that's amazing any way you look at it, right? Now, where it came from? It came from time banking. Now, time banking is not a new thing. Time banking has been around for at least 200 years, right? It started back in Cincinnati time store where people were working and they could spend their time essentially to buy different items in a thing, bread, water, well, they weren't selling water back then, but bread, liquor, whatever, right? There is an interesting case in America since then, right? I mean, Karl Marx is obviously a guy that spoke about this as well, right? And there is an interesting case in America from a place called Ithaca. Now, who heard of Ithaca hours here? Right? Not very many people, right? But besides the point, so what happened in Ithaca, right? My good friend Paul Glover, right? He's a famous anarchist in America, right? He was living there at the time, and he started printing essentially his own money, right? So the way it looked is literally a piece of paper that he says 1 Ithaca hour. And that Ithaca hour was equal to $10 at the time because that was the average wage in Ithaca County. Now it got to the stage where in that town, everyone, like most people were using it, and they were actually using these hours to pay their mortgages. Now that's amazing, right? The problem with traditional time banking is the following now. If you're a dentist and you got a cleaner there, right, and you live in the same community and your kids go to the same school and everything, right, now it will be much easier for a dentist to discount his hour to fix the cleaner's tooth if you personally know them. Now, if you talk about a larger community where the dentist doesn't know the cleaner to discount the hour for, well, that's a different story, right? And that's what we're trying to change. And that's what blockchain offers us, and that's what the current technology gives us, right? So in other words, in our example with dentist and cleaner, the dentist would be able to charge, say, 1.5 times labor hour, right? If the nominal labor hour is X, and the cleaner would be able to charge 0.5X. So that gives us equality between the equality and the standardization of hours between people. That's what we're working on, and that's what the pretense that we use to develop everything else. Now, as far as the companies are concerned, and as far as people are concerned and governments, right, what we're offering is the companies would pre-purchase these labor hours, right? That's in fact an alternative finance system, right? That's around central bank a little bit, right? So the companies would pre-purchase these labor hours at a discount and give it to all the workers, right? And pay them in labor hours, right, which can be converted into fiat currency as they please, and they would pay them in that. And as the workers need, they can trade them, they can go and cash them out into fiat at their need, right? So that's a great idea. Now, what we do need to realize is that human capital, in my opinion, is no longer something that's owned by an organization or company, right? It is something that we all should take control of. In other words, we currently we discount and we underestimate how much we're worth. And the way it happened is that essentially we're always told what to do, right? We're always told, okay, you got to go to uni to get a job, get a high-paying job, hopefully, and keep going, right? And that is bad, and that needs to change. And the funny thing is, and that amazes me, that we have all these services, right? We have Uber for taxis, we have well, anything you can name there, right? But it all is concentrated on spending, right? In other words, it's, in Uber's case, it's discretionary spending, right? And it's awesome and it's great and everyone's like amazing. But the thing is, nobody has looked into earning. And that's what we're doing. So in looking at that, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a human labor hour tradable in any profession, just like you would a kilowatt, or just like you would a barrel of oil. Now, once again, it's a big ask, but I think we're up to the challenge, and at least we started the ball rolling. And everyone, effectively, everyone will be their own little bank, right? What blockchain allows us to do is essentially keep our value on the chain with us at all times. Now, this is amazing. Now, once again, we're not the first ones to think about it, but we're the first ones. I'd like to think of us as a catalyst to all this, right? Because I'm sure it's going to come to that, and the way we get remunerated is way, way overdue for a change. For that, and to help us do that, we've launched something called LaborX platform. So what it is, it's essentially, it's a platform where, well, workers can find work, employers can find workers, right? Nice and simple, right? And I urge you to take a look at it, have a look, and I mean, if anything, at least our design is awesome. Now, once again, we do realize that we cannot do it ourselves, and this is big, right? As such, we urge everyone, economists, blockchain guys, Bitcoin guys, whatever you want to call it, right? Anyone who has a grudge against the current system or whatever, right? To contact us, and let's together, I'm sure we'll be able to change the way that people do get paid. And this is amazing, and this is just the first step. And once again, the reason I know this is right is because, once again, the idea has been around for a very long time. It just, I don't think there's been technology to make it happen. And now we're at the cusp of this, right? And I'm sure we can do it, right? So once again, guys, there are my contacts below. Please also, I don't know, Google it or something. And if you want to get in touch with us, please do. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to work together and collaborate to see what can happen. Now, on that note, thank you very much. And we've got 8 minutes. I'd love to hear some questions from the audience. Right. So what that tells me is I must be explaining everything really great. That's right, maybe. We consult with the government, and the funny thing about labor regulations, right? What the system allows you to do essentially is to auction your time, essentially, right? So therefore, the workers will not be abused because they can auction their time, and if they get abused, they can stop the contract at any time, right? So that's one thing. In terms of regulations, in terms of all the other things that come with it, what is important and what I want to mention, there's something called workers' compensation. I don't know what it's called in, essentially the answer to the question is we're tackling the labor regulations by talking to the appropriate government agencies that do that, and unions and everything, right? That's what we do in Australia currently. Now, as far as like I forgot to mention, what is important here is this. There's something called workers' compensation, right? The insurance. Insurance, if anything happens on a workplace, you're insured, that you still get paid, and if God forbid you're injured, you get looked after, right? Now, third world countries don't really have that. First world countries have that. What the system would allow us to do is this. Currently in Australia, for example, it's a blanket policy. Say everyone in construction pays an average 10% of their wages. So it's like it just so happens. And I mean, insurance companies don't spend too much time working it out. Now with this, because we're going to know the reputation of people, we'll be able to actually decrease that policy, and I've just done rough numbers, by at least 5-fold. right? So this is also big. Not a lot of people realize that there's a lot of money to be made in making things more efficient in labor market, right? Okay, any other questions?
I have a question here. So thank you for your talk. I understand the innovation when people can get paid by the second. That is amazing. That is something you talk about, that each second you get paid. That I understand. But then you also talk about that you have labor hours traded as kilowatts, as other assets. But isn't it already currently in place with fiat money? I mean, I trade people hours, I can hire people. So what is your innovation there? Can you maybe clarify a bit more?
Yeah, no problem. Now, my question, yeah, okay, well, it is in place, right? For example, you start a new job, you worked for 1 day, right? Then your rent is due the next day. What do? Well, you wait until payday, right?
Yeah. So I understand the innovation when you get paid by the second. That is all right. But you can do that with the Bitcoin Lightning Network. So I'm trying to understand your ecosystem more. So you can get paid by the second, wonderful. But when it comes to what else? What else?
Well, we need an internal token to transact quickly. So essentially, that's what labor hour is, right? The innovation here is essentially the idea further on that you'd be able to not just get paid for it, but provided you get enough reputation to be able to borrow against it. So what I was trying to say in the first instance just then is, for example, you're a cleaner waking up somewhere in Paraguay or something, right? And you need some bread, right? And you know to the system that you're a good cleaner. You can literally go and borrow 1 hour against the future earning, and get the bread or whatever you want. So that's the innovation here. So it's with the products that goes on further, along with the universal reputation, rather, let's call it.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Hello. Thanks a lot.
Very nice mic. I'm sorry, this is...
Yeah, to like it too. How far are you along? Do you have already existing clients, and what is the feedback from companies? Because that might be challenging for them to change their payroll system, the current payroll system.
That's right. Well, when the lady introduced me, she said that we have a number of businesses existing in the place in Australia as well. So obviously our businesses are users of this already. We've done the trial. Secondly, we just recently, when the news came out about LaborX, right? We do have great interest in Australia for the trial of this product, essentially, right? So for traditional, there is something called labor hire in Australia, right? So that's where the people are actually quoted, the people that you send to work are actually quoted by an hour, and all these labor hire companies are actually very excited about trialing this, and to see where it leads. So I don't envision adoption to be a great problem, because as far as the company is concerned, they'll get a worker with with no resource spend, as opposed to now where you have to pay 20% to the HR company or something like that. So yeah, the trials are ongoing, but I'm sure hopefully we'll be able to hit the ground running in, so let's say, November. Thank you. All right. That is an epic mic. All right, guys.
Another question.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. One more thing. Don't you think that actually you're building the next most effective slavery system? Because when you make an universal reputation token or whatever ever, right now the only way for employee to get a salary increase is to change a job. You say, okay, I want more. If I see what amount you earn in a previous company, zero motivation for me to give you more.
All right. Now, yeah, well, first of all, the only way to get paid more is not really changing jobs. I can think of at least two more, right? One, suck up to the boss. Two, ask the boss direct, right? So that's two ways. Now, the thing is, what we're trying to do is to make sure that people currently working are motivated to make sure that, like, let's call it employer agnostic, this system, right? In other words, employers would use this to, like, we're trying to get rid of the personal relationship between employee and employee, in a sense, right? So what that means is that changing jobs would be as simple as requoting yourself on a system for a different rate.
Country quote.
Now, so what you're talking about is like kind of conflict resolution. In other words, if an employee is an asshole and he wants to hurt you, he can give you a bad rating, and everybody will be able to see that, right? That's what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about if you give the transparency.
Yes.
You explain my, I don't know, everything about me in the past.
Yes.
And then you give an extra leverage on me during the negotiation. And then you say, so, makes no sense. I don't pay you more. I don't care that you have more experience, blah, 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 blah. Yesterday you earned 10K. Today you earn 10.1. But again, what you're saying, it theoretically works. But in reality, the only really huge chance or real chance to get more money is to change the company. And you're just destroying this opportunity.
I'm just, no, hold up. I'm not destroying this opportunity. What I'm saying is, imagine an order book on the exchange, right? So then you got an accountant A, accountant B, accountant C, different rates, right? As an employer, what I'm telling you is, we're trying to make an employer agnostic. In other words, job needs to be done. Employer doesn't look if it's one, female, if it's black, if it's yellow, if it's white, whatever, you know what I mean? And the thing is, like, and that gives you an opportunity instead of hindrance. So what you're saying is that, yeah, once again, it's not the only way to get paid more to change companies. The way to get paid more is to show that you're better. And that's what you're trying to do. Maybe I'm not understanding the question or something.
Again, you in your system, you bring all your past mistakes, all your, let's say, bad past or whatever ever, and you have zero chance to start from the ground.
Well, you do. And the reason is, and that's why the algorithm of our reputation is not just a simple past performance.
Do you know what introduced in China? So it means you cross the border in the wrong place, you have the social penalty.
That's right, yes.
Social penalty, you get now the higher credit risk in the financial institution. That's why you get a lower salary in a company. It's a mega pressure.
Yes. That's why we really need to look at our algorithm for reputation and not just do it across the board. And obviously conflict resolution and reputation needs to be changeable in some way, right? Or people that are in the system would need to have some way of changing their reputation if it's maliciously destroyed.
Okay, but
all right.
Okay, I think we need to close here. Thank you very much, Sergei.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.